Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to the monastery, the open bar of the internet, the world's greatest shit show, and the place where we, the good brothers and sisters of this most holy of temples, seek enlightenment through the drunkest, craziest, and most batshit ways possible. I am your one and only gaming monk, better known as Mildra, and with me, I have two of my good brothers here in the temple. In the red corner, we have our resident waifu hunter, good brother Coops.
Always make sure your tires are suited for winter weather, otherwise you could be slicking out the road and actually be in trouble with getting your van crashed.
And our resident cosplayer of this monastery, good brother Slick Rick.
Monk, you and I are just looking at this and looking at Coops and just saying, noob.
Let's be nice. Let's be nice. He doesn't have to deal with it on a yearly basis the way we do.
You're not wrong.
But man, I know the butt's coming.
We still have to laugh.
Oh yeah. But my initial plan for this week was going to be doing Geek Watch, but because of the fact that the guest that I wanted for this specific one wasn't able to make this date, I decided instead of just doing nothing, I'm going to do it as a Fireside instead, because I haven't done a Fireside in about a month. The last Fireside we did was in the countdown to the new year.
Yeah.
And hello there, Drew. How you doing, man? It has been a interesting week. I will admit that I have been making a bigger push to post some things on Blue Sky and some things on Twitter. The main reason I'm using both is I use both of them as a means to do my connecting with creators kind of thing. Jeez, even saying that I sound like a journalist.
I'm only on Blue Sky so I don't get fined.
I'm on Blue Sky, but I need the connections.
Mm-hmm.
You know my industry.
Oh, I know. I know all too well. And when it comes to the events of the last few days, I am very happy with the direction that things are going to be going. What with the partnership that I have with Vindicated and the whole thing with Hivecore, which there are some plans for collabs that are going to be on the Hivecore channel. That's not going to happen for at least a month. Also, while you guys won't be able to see it until March, I was on the Talking as a Free Action podcast recently. The reason it's going to take a while before you guys see it is because of the fact that
Is it kind of like how classic TNA was with releasing their scheduled stuff?
Mm-hmm.
That's fine.
Yeah. It's the fact that there's a backlog of episodes that have to come out first before mine does. They record the episodes on a bit of a time delay. I see Mari from the chat going, "A friend will help you pull your car out of a snowbank. A true friend will help you, but he's gonna roast you for getting sick in the first place." You know, he's not wrong.
Yeah, no, not wrong.
Mm-hmm.
And then they're going to at the same time they're also going to they're not going to really offer much in terms of help if you dent the car in any way.
Yeah. Although we learned from Big Motor, don't dent it with a sock.
That's just Florida in general.
Yeah, and the sad part is I'm not joking about that. There was a huge scandal with a used car dealership, Big Motor, about how they were essentially committing insurance fraud and just regular fraud to the point where massive investigations by the equivalent of the SEC were being done.
Ooh.
There's a YouTuber, Japan Analysis, who did a deep dive on it. And
What's it? Go ahead. Because I have a question on that, but before I ask it, I'm just going. Because I'm thinking of that, but I'm also trying to figure: is that the same place that one of the initial reasons they got? There was a used car dealership that, for some reason, that got investigated and had so many lawsuits, partially because to help, like, basically because it was trying to get people to see its stuff. It destroyed every form of vegetation around their lots in the cities they were built in.
yeah, that was the same one, and you can't do that.
Oh, I know. Oh yeah.
And of course, Japanese internet decided to make fun of the whole thing by putting up Big Motor employee starter kits on eBay, as well as cosplayers making cosplays specifically to mock them.
Are we talking the West, their ones, or those in the East?
We're talking homegrown ones.
Oh.
Obviously, no stateside cosplayer is going to be making fun of a Japanese car dealership.
But I just, given what I know about the Japanese cosplay scene, like, I wanted to double check.
Mm-hmm. But I will note I do have a bit of an update regarding the Legend Edition project.
Oh?
We just recently finished the bestiary. That's the good news. The bad news is, because of the size of it, it's going to have to be in a separate book. Like, if we put in the full bestiary, that's going to be another 100 pages. And if any of you have seen the book, it's already pretty beefy as is. So adding an extra 100 pages in addition to the advanced rules, which are probably going to be knocked out in about a week, it would result in a book that would be like 600 or 550 to 600 pages. And for a core book, that's a bit much. We also might end up hitting some sort of size limit for PDFs on itch. Unless we do a whole lot of optimizing, which is certainly possible, but that's just extra steps, and that's not including the fact that we're going to be doing a final editing run before we put 1.0 out there. But you can guarantee this: once 1.0 is out there, I intend on reaching out to everybody I can to do a Victory Lap media tour. The one rule that I am putting on with it is I will not be reaching out to very many tabletop-focused channels, because I learned my lesson about 2 years ago. And also the fact that if I did that with a lot of them still have a lot of tabletop conventions that are like still have a bit of a stigma towards games that are deemed too weeb, and Final Fantasy is going to be. Yeah, I know.
Those people.
Yeah, the Grogs. That's the reason why when our good friend Chris was talking about taking the TTRPG adaptation of Flux Destiny over to conventions, I had specifically discouraged him from going to tabletop conventions with it. Instead, go to anime cons. And the reason I specifically brought up anime conventions with him was because I wanted him to have a spot where he'd be able to get people involved. And I felt that if he went to a tabletop convention like Gamehole Con in Wisconsin or Gen Con in Indiana, he'd have a bunch of people turning his nose, and that would just be completely dejecting. So to prevent that, I was like, I'm not going to force you not to go to any tabletop cons to promote this, but I'm going to actively discourage it.
Right.
And that's not to say I have anything against those type of conventions. It's more that there's still a large contingent that wants tabletop gaming in the same spot that it was in 1981 or some shit. Like, I don't dislike Grogs out of some ignorance or some malicious means. My issue with grognardism has always been the fact that nostalgia, if left unchecked, can lead to a kind of toxicity and a kind of stagnation. And it's not something that's limited to the tabletop realm. It's the reason why you don't see me listening to guys like Jim Cornette as much as I used to. Or
as you always say, nostalgia is one heck of a poison.
Yeah, it is a sweet poison. I have the same attitude when it comes to Stevie Richards as well. Stevie Richards is not a idiot, but a lot of the what went wrong stuff just seems to be another person who's like, the brand of wrestling now is different from the one that was going on when I was wrestling, therefore bad. And I'm not a fan of that mode of thinking. You know, the whole going on and on about the right way to do things, which just happens to be the way that things have been done in the past, in a medium that's constantly changing and evolving.
Also, sorry, Mario. Yeah, no, they would not be happy with that whatsoever.
Let's see. This reminds me of a friend's boss who listed a Corvette as a work car for his construction company at his tax returns. The IRS was not happy. Yeah, they wouldn't be. For one, even the Joker didn't want to mess with the IRS. And two is the fact that doing that is I'm pretty sure he probably got audited over that, because that's what probably would have happened. But you know, I'm pretty sure when you guys go to cons, there's always that one person who's grumbling about how the convention was better 10 or 15 years ago when there weren't as many people or something like that.
Like, I can be honest, I had that last year, but it was just because they were doing so many new stuff that it took me a bit to get used to when I was at Metro.
Mm-hmm.
But I still enjoyed myself. I was just like, oh, you have the fight show again. Awesome. Why the hell is it only one showing? Because I know plenty of people who could only make it on Sunday, and they were hoping to see the fight show then.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And oh, by the way, I happen to come across a bit of an article saying how Dan Snyder views the Commanders run from afar. He hates it. Good. This could have been yours if you weren't such a rat. But beyond that, when it comes to, I'm not saying all nostalgia is bad. It's when nostalgia runs unchecked, or when you're constantly chasing the idea of something. I think that's the reason why, for me personally, you're never going to see me label myself in any business card or digital business card or the like as a retro gamer. Because in doing so, I would be trying to chase something that I know I can't have. You know, a lot of people are doing that, are chasing a idea of childhood memory. But I'm well aware that in any creative space, there's going to be constant evolutions. So because of that, I don't see a reason to keep chasing that, because it's just going to make me feel worse and worse the more that I realize I can't have it.
Right.
But and since you brought it up, going on a different matter, since you brought it up, let's see. I believe right now we're in conference final territory.
Yes, we are.
Mm-hmm. So we got Commanders and Eagles going on right now as we're talking, and we got Bills and Chiefs later. As much as I hate to admit it, I think we're going to be seeing a repeat of Eagles and Chiefs in the Super Bowl.
Yeah. Like, I get why people are sick of the Chiefs winning. Like, even as a Chiefs fan, I understand. but at the same time, not much we can do about it.
Mm-hmm. Now,
Besides all the ref ball, which even I admit that was some of it's bullshit.
yeah, this is the kind of thing that makes people think the NFL is scripted, and the reason why Grossi has had the if the NFL was scripted series of videos.
Yeah.
Of course, it's only the first quarter when it comes to Commanders Eagles as we're doing this. So anything can happen there. I will note, as I was looking for other people's takes on the whole haters guide concept, I came across one channel, Squidtard Sports, that will fill the niche of college shitposting, but sports shitposting, but for college football. And since he did like an hour-and-a-half thing just debriefing the entirety of the NCAA, including every bowl game, it also included my Gophers winning up against Virginia Tech in the Mayo Bowl. And forgive me, but I cannot be arsed to give a shit because of the unfortunate fact that the Gophers are in the ACC and no longer the Big Ten, because for my entire life, there has only been one rivalry, and one rivalry only in college sports that I cared the most about. And given where I live, you can pretty much guess what it is.
Uh-huh.
Because I want that axe. Those guys to the side have had that axe for years, and we never got it back.
I know that's right.
You know, given where you're from, Coops, it's the same level as the clean old-fashioned hate. I'm pretty sure you know about that game that's been going on for the better part of a century.
Let's believe I do. My cousins won't shut up about it.
Yeah. But then again, everybody in Georgia ends up clowning on New Orleans every year, so Granted, for the last few years, it's been rightly deserved. And I cannot unsee the fact that the Superdome looks like an anus. I know I'm not the first person to make that joke.
No, you're not, and neither will you be the last.
But I see Mario saying, it's one thing to point people are ignoring basic safety just for the sake of, but when someone does something you don't agree with but is still valid, just move along. Don't be that guy. Yeah, pretty much. Who knew a cheese wheel would make a good grindstone? Fuck you, Mario. But like for me, it was always Minnesota versus Wisconsin. Like every year, that was the big one, because Minnesota and Wisconsin will trade shots at each other for anything and everything, and that's not going to change anytime soon. Even if there's no sports involved, we'll still find a way to yell at each other.
I could say the same for Kansas and Missouri. I mean, the most local team was KU, and that's just because they're right next door. What's the closest? And then we have Missouri, so we have the border war still going on since what? Right before the Civil War?
Probably.
So.
Oh,
it is.
Although you guys know that I've had to mediate the debates between whether Kansas City or Texas does better barbecue. I think the only reason I mediated that was just because I was taller than both of the people involved. But I will note that we had a very late entry for Geek of the Week, and for those of you who are new, Geek of the Week is my weekly award that I give to whoever acted like a fucking idiot that week. This time, unfortunately, the Geek of the Week award goes to the developers of Sulaco. Because you guys probably heard about the whole Real Game Awards that Stuttering Craig had set up a few days ago. I had considered doing a stream reacting to it, but by the time I had a spot in my schedule open, the moment it passed.
I actually watched it. It was actually good shit.
Mm-hmm. I may end up doing a very late reaction. We'll see. But one of the things that did get it was I think Sulaco got was it best FPS or something else? I'd have to double check.
I think it was best indie game.
Yeah, and the creator, and hey there Mizo, had gotten on the awards for saying I didn't consent to have my name in this. I'm like, it's an award show. It's a fucking award show. Why would that be necessary? Not to mention the whole thing is one giant shit post towards the Dorito Pope, who Craig implied tried to get the thing shut down by trying to trademark Game Awards.
Oh, bullshit.
Which is some newborn-ass Karen behavior. But it was even if you don't agree with the intent of the thing, or you don't like Craig or something like that, you've got to. That thing may have opened a bunch of eyes to Sulaco, which Sulaco is. I have played through episode 1 of that, which is currently the only episode. The later ones are still in the works. That game is black magic. There is no reason that something made on GZ Doom should be able to be that good looking. Is what I'd normally say, but there's been so many high quality games using GZ Doom that it's not even funny. Because I know a lot of people want to do the "it's so over" when it comes to the tabletop scene, just taking the sins of AAA and putting that on everybody. But anyone who's doing that is taking the black pill, and as we've said, the black pill is bad for your health. But Mizo, if you're late, welcome to Fireside, where I and some of the brothers of the temple do the longest shit post that we'll ever do in a given amount of time. But
and please note, when we say shit post, we mean we'll do everything except the one shit dance. We're still recovering from the incident 5 years ago.
Fair.
Poor little Johnny has never been the same.
Remember, folks, little Johnny was a boy, but Johnny is no more, because what he thought was H2O was H2SO4. See, I'm not above chemistry jokes. And if you don't get it, I'm not explaining it.
Yeah, no. That's Johnny's responsibility, and he's still recovering.
Mm-mm. But it has been kind of funny how and you've probably seen this too. And hey there, Jesper, welcome to the party. You've probably seen how a lot of people have been magically trying to pull a 180 regarding the state of gaming over the last week, especially with Ninja Gaiden 4 being announced.
Oh yeah.
Uh,
I need to sit down and watch a lot of those, but I did see the Ninja Gaiden one.
Because not only is, and that's supposed to be coming out this fall, and we ended up getting the stealth drop of Ninja Gaiden 2 Black. And a lot of people who were being doom and gloom towards me for months regarding the state of games, all of a sudden want to turn that around and pretend like they never said any of that over the last 11 months. Which that's the burr up my ass about that.
Hey, Coops.
Yo.
You smell what they're dishing out there?
I don't know. It's kind of has that familiar. So, oh yeah, I already know. It's bullshit.
Bullshit! Bullshit!
And when it, like, I've been championing the fact that we are in a very healthy indie scene for several years now. Both indie and the not burgeoning but full-on return of the AA market. And it was something that I knew was going to happen. Part of the reason the AA market went belly up was because of the that financial crunch in the 2000s. And while that hasn't fully recovered, it has shown signs of it. Putting aside other things in the financial world, which I'm not going to get into because that's a whole other rabbit hole. But because of the fact that more and more people have been going indie and then going indie with a larger budget, it has allowed the AA market to start to resurface. Now, on the other end, you're going to see some people who are going to hyper focus on analysts saying that GTA 6 needs to cost $100.
No, my thing is they need to have stricter rules both in game and when selling it to make sure that the right people get in their hands. I'm looking at the age limit because god damn it, I'm still shocked that parents will buy their grade school kid GTA. And then they're shocked when they see all the violence.
Oh, Rick, it's not like we weren't guilty of the same thing when we were younger.
To an extent.
Oh.
I'm sorry. When grandmothers are shocked that there's a certain torture scene in the story mode of GTA 5 when I tell them.
I think that's a generational gap issue, and I do think as time has gone on, you're going to see less of that.
Oh, yeah.
Because when it comes to those kind of folk, they still have that association of video games of that arcade kind of thinking. Thinking of it as the simple distraction arcade game, like it was for pre-crash arcade markets, like.
Okay.
Well, and not being able, and because of the fact that they're outside looking in on that, not being able to grasp that a lot has changed. I've seen a similar thing when it comes to a lot of the people who are popping off about modern D&D, and it's very clear that they only know D&D intimately as something they played when they were in high school. You know, at the height of the whole satanic panic thing, which if you didn't see, JDA tried to claim that there was no satanic panic, and he got community noted.
Oh, I remember those videos about that.
But the fact of the matter is, the tabletop scene now is not the same as it was then. It's not like there's a handful of games that are being made when everybody is making their own shit. So that's the reason why trying to apply the sins of of like Hasbro and D&D 5e onto the entirety of the tabletop space will always ring hollow, because it's just not reality. You know, and Mario says when there is a demand, the market will form. It might take time, but it'll happen. And yeah, and the take time thing is what some people have an issue with, because they don't they. You ever have one of those things where somebody only sees the end point and not how things evolve to that direction? It's kind of like that. I know that you've had to deal with that a fair bit as a cosplayer, because a lot of people look at the end point with cosplay and not the steps to it.
I sometimes have those instances myself, but oh yeah.
Which that's all. Honestly, that's always been a concern when it comes to the over focus on the high end aspects of cosplay. Because, and this might sound a bit strange, but I think focusing so much on that ends up creating a negative feedback when it comes to getting people into it, because they think that's the standard they have to meet.
I've seen a lot of cosplayers, and when I say this, I'm referring to guests, those who are invited to the convention, so they're the ones whose names are on the websites. A lot of them, yeah, they'll bring in their most expensive, their fancy stuff, but if you look at it, 9 times out of 10, unless they're judging the cosplay contest, they're wearing the most basic stuff, if they can, because they realize they're going to be sitting around all day. They don't want to be in their most complex outfits when they're sitting around all day.
Yeah. If I were to draw a parallel, I know that Mercer tried to downplay it, but the Mercer effect is a real thing when it comes to people getting into tabletop. I know it is. I've seen it happen personally. There is a reason why there's that no Matt Mercer sign at my LGS. I've told you guys that story, but for the new folk, I was doing guest GM stuff for Free RPG Day at my LGS. That's local game store for those not in the trade. And I had gotten a lot of people bringing up how Mercer GMs versus how I GM, which I knew of Matt Mercer at that time, but it wasn't out of dislike that I was getting annoyed. It was out of the principle of, you don't say that shit when I'm doing all the work. I don't need somebody playing backseat driver. That's just rude.
Nobody likes a backseat driver.
Mm-hmm. And in that same vein, I wasn't a big fan of just people constantly questioning the decisions that I'm making while I'm in play, and I end up saying to the guy who ran the shop, I have a half a mind to have a Wayne's World style sign that says absolutely no Matt Mercer. Then he ends up putting a sign like that up about 2 weeks later.
I would laugh. It's like, it's as unlikely as it is.
Mm-hmm.
Folks, Matthew, if like they were traveling around, either Matt or someone from the cast was just driving around, and they see that and they just send it to him. I don't know. It's like, he seems like the kind of person, like, he would get a kick out of that.
But
and if not him, Sam would definitely make something of that.
Oh, probably. But point is, a lot of people have looked at Critical Role and act like that's what the standard is, and that's not true. In the same way that I can easily see people looking at the high-end cosplays that are of all those photos that are taken at conventions and think that's the baseline that you have to meet.
Nope.
And
That's just a lot of love for them.
And Jesper in the chat saying, "Are you playing like the players from Critical Role?" No. I am not. I don't GM the way he does. I have my own specific style of GMing that I've developed over the years. Obviously, none of the players involved are. I only have one person who's a voice actor in the whole group, and everybody's bringing their particular style.
Like, here's a good example. 9 times out of 10, unless it's like I write it the way it is, I end up trying to be the comedy relief.
Mm-hmm.
And that's mostly just because between Zan, Shades, and to an extent Lake, hey, they end up having to be the serious or the characters trying to push the plot along. I gotta do something.
Mm-hmm.
So let me just be comedic, and I'll be memorable that way.
And it's not like I script any of that.
I mean, I think I did pretty well with being the comedic character.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I still want to try and get art done of your character from the Sword World campaign eating that endless bucket of popcorn.
I'm trying to get that. I'm trying to find the right artist for it, but I want to do a reactive emote where just for the monastery, or if I'm in Cloister, it is Garrett eating the popcorn when I'm talking, and when I'm not, he is just there with chipmunk cheeks.
Yeah. And hello.
Lake laugh at it, and I wouldn't put it past her to try to make one for her character.
And hello there, Victo. Welcome to the party. But Mario says it doesn't help that for a lot of the older generation, D&D is to table game as iPads are to tablets. Yeah, I can.
You're not wrong.
It's again, it comes down to acting like there's some right way to do things ends up creating a problem. Especially in a creative medium. Like, if somebody wants to lean more towards old school play in their thing, that's one thing. But don't act like your shit don't stink.
Yes, I see.
And thank you for the. I don't know why that showed up twice. Thank you, Brian, for the sub. I hope you enjoy in all the stuff we do with 100% less ad-based bullshit. And,
Hey!
Victo asking which game your fave. Do you have any idea how little that narrows it down?
Which one are we referring to, bud?
Yeah, you gotta be. I mean, I could be talking tabletop. I could be talking video game. We cover a wide variety of things here in the monastery. But like when it comes to that whole generational gap thing, you know what's real funny looking back at that? Looking at the rise and fall of the NWA Power show. Or local James Mitchell ruins everything.
Yeah.
Oh, Brian says favorite game, the next one. Always the next one. That's a good answer. But when it comes to that sort of, that's maybe it's just me, but I think having the idea of old school as part of some sort of self-identity is nothing but cringeworthy. Especially since it doesn't tell me a whole lot. As far as what the Victo, as far as what the plan is for the channel, just continue doing what I've been doing, just with a gradually expanding base. That's always been the plan, to showcase what's out there. But all right, let me see where the Eagles are right now. Okay, it's 6 and 14 Eagles at second quarter.
God damn.
Which
Also, Jasper, approve of that emote.
but I will note that when I look back at some of the campaigns that we've done, I consider myself fortunate that there's one problem that a lot of tables have had that hasn't been present with the Cloister the Dice series. I don't have anybody making a hissy fit whenever I introduce a new game to the table. I've had so many stories relayed to me about how hard it is to get people into something other than D&D, and I haven't had that problem.
Well, here's the thing. We knew coming into the Cloister, we're not going to stick with one game. We're going to be constantly changing them. And we also realized there is such a big cast that, hey, if by chance either something outside of the game world, like IRL stuff is happening that will prevent us from being there, or we've tried, we're not really fans of that type of genre or some of the mechanics in there, we realize there's other people willing to jump in. But, yeah.
And truth be told, whenever I hear the it's hard to get into a new system, my mind goes, how'd you end up getting into the first one? And imagine this. Imagine somebody who's a longtime Street Fighter fan saying, "Oh, it would be too hard for me to get into Tekken." It sounds ridiculous, right? But that's more or less what people are saying when they tell me it's hard to get into a new TTRPG. But you're never going to hear someone say it's hard to transition from playing Street Fighter to playing Tekken. I mean, yeah, there's different energies there, but it's not like it's some Herculean task.
It really isn't.
And the reason I use that video game analogy is to highlight how ridiculous that mode of thinking is. Because if I said that unironically, I'd get laughed out of the room. We don't think like that, but somehow tabletop is supposed to have this magic exception. And speaking of that, I have been obviously making some inroads with certain VTubers, just interacting with them, and this is one of the things that unfortunately is going to put a bit of a barrier when it comes to me working with others, is that, and I think I said this last month, a lot still have this view of tabletop outside of D&D as the realm where angels fear to tread. By the way, would you like to see? Victo, if you're trying to solicit for art, I'm not looking for artists right now. That's gonna be my one note on that.
We're all for fan art, but if you want us to pay, that's how you not get people.
And I do have a fan art tag, but I'm not. But I have a okay, good to know that. I've gotten a bunch of people DMing me over the years, pulling the. Oh, are you looking for somebody to commission? I'd like to do art for you or something like that. Usually flattering me about my design, and I've had to tell people I'm not looking for anything like that. So I didn't intend on doing anything accusatory with that. It's just a force of habit. Usually, if I'm looking to, if I'm looking to work with a particular artist, I will usually reach out to them directly, and I have a small team that I've worked with. And Brian says, currently it's Monday custom game, Tuesday Imperium Maledictum, Wednesday no game, Thursday Wild Talents, Friday Song of Sirens, Saturday Song of Sirens, Sunday Free Space so far. Which that's pretty fair, Ryan, and I applaud the fact that you're going through multiple games over the course of a week. But you've no doubt seen what I'm talking about when it comes to people saying that it's hard for somebody to try something different or get other people to try something different, which ends up creating this kind of self-fulfilling prophecy, in my opinion, where everybody thinks it's too hard, so they don't try, so nobody tries, thus everybody's playing the same ass game. And that's a kind of conditioning that I'd like to try and get people to break out of. Brian said, yeah, the main problem is fitting that next game in if you're open to something that isn't just the same old thing. Yeah, I think for a lot of people, even with all the exposure that tabletop has gotten over the last decade, still have a certain identity regarding tabletop, and that identity is largely that it's this extremely difficult thing that only the turbos of turbo nerds can fully understand. Now, both Rick and Coops here can tell you that is most definitely not the case, but that is a belief structure that does show up. Although we even have that in the video game end of things, because there's one phrase that I've gotten sick of from Black Pillars. Except for the occasional indie. Saying, oh, the industry sucks except for games made in Asia and the occasional indie game. It is no longer occasional. There was a point in time where you could say that a decent indie would come along once in a blue moon, but there have been so many once in a blue moons that it's like, is it really that rare?
Oh look, I found Moby Dick. Yeah, so do the rest of us.
It's like it's not Moby Dick hunting the white whale anymore. When you see so many different projects coming about, and that's the reason why the Hangover shit show streams that we do, which are trying to highlight a bunch of different games at once end up going for so long. It's not like I'm intentionally trying to pad things out. There's just so much stuff that's interesting in them that it just piles up on its own. And of course, even saying that, when occasionally somebody will say, "Okay, name the ones that I'm missing," I'm like, the way you phrase that question, me answering that is pointless. Because when it's phrased that way, what they're telling me is, no matter what I say, they're going to sidestep it with something like, "Oh, I've never heard of that," or something like that. And because of that, it's like, why should I bother respond when you're not going to listen? And Mario in the chat saying, a comfort zone is just an echo chamber by another name. Pretty much. And photocopies get bad. Brian saying, photocopies get bad after a few iterations, while anything drawn with care and dedication has a good chance of showing depth. This is why original artwork costs 6+ figures, while you buy pictures of it for $20. I mean, yeah, that's true, and I'm not going to get on the cost debate when it comes to that. For me, it's more that I do want to put the focus on the fact that there's a wide variety of games out there to fill any niche. So when somebody's acting like there's nothing good being made out there, they are intentionally lying. Not for clout per se, but for their own narrative. Or in some cases, because they want to be seen as because being cynical is the trendy thing to do, in a sense. And let me refresh that. See how things are going. Oh, boys, things are getting a little close. It's 12:14, and we're not even in halftime yet.
Ooh.
Oh. I noticed some.
Washington might actually have a chance.
If Washington gets it, then I'm going to have to directly call Doku and and give him his flowers. Let him come on and do a victory lap. Because, I mean, and also, even, let's be honest, even if Philly wins today, the city of Philadelphia is still going to be bitching about it.
Of course they are.
I got love for my good brothers and sisters in the Pennsylvania area, but you know it's true. You know Philly loves to complain. Them and Baltimore. Now, granted, Baltimore has a more legit reason to constantly complain because, well, they keep getting in their own damn way. But regardless. But even with that, I will note, I ended up doing something that I probably should have done months ago, and that is going through my entire tabletop library and seeing what games would be good for Cloister, either as a one-shot or a full campaign. This was incredibly excessive, And I probably should have done this long before I started the Cloister of the Dice over a year ago. And Brian's saying, is it bad that I want Commanders to win because I want Philly to throw a fit, not because they're my local team? No, that is called the art of shitposting. There is nothing wrong with that. And I would love for Philly to throw a fit personally, because let's be honest, it's gonna happen.
Besides, we know as soon as it happens, you'll be there with a drink and some kind of snackage, just watching the fireworks.
And well, our good brother Doku is going to drink if they win or if the Commanders win or lose.
No, he's going to drink. Yeah, no, you're not wrong. But then again, he doesn't really need much to drink anyway.
Pretty much.
Just getting out of bed is worthy enough for him to drink.
Mm-hmm. Let's see. Lighting is a big difference. A picture on a screen projector light is, whereas a live portrait reflects light. Art transferring is a pain in the ass. I mean, you're not wrong.
No.
Is the drinking based on... Brian's saying, is the drinking based on wins, losses, or is it coincidental? I look at it the same reason that Winston Churchill would drink after a good day or a bad day. If he drank after a good day, it was because he earned it. If he drank after a bad day, it was because he needed it. And again, have you ever seen that thing where somebody went into his Winston Churchill's daily drinking schedule? There was a... Let's see, Project Light, YouTube autocorrect is also a pain in the ass. But, yeah, I'm not disagreeing there, but have either of you seen the drinking regimen of Churchill? That was a video.
Because I already know it's like I would have alcohol poisoning just watching it.
Yeah, somebody made a video of it. But let me. But in 1936, he had a tab with his wine merchant that, in modern terms, would be about $75,000.
Jeez.
And apparently it was bad enough that it was well known enough that whenever he'd visit Roosevelt's administration would call it Winston hours. Apparently Roosevelt had to sleep for 10 hours a night for 3 nights straight to recover, given how much drinking was involved. But there was a video that dropped a few years ago that replicated his thing. So he would start immediately after waking up with scotch and soda. Around 10 or 10:30, he would have a top up of another scotch and soda. Still in bed while working. An hour later, at around 11, he'd have his third scotch and soda. But he'd be out of bed by that point. By the time lunch, when that rolls around, scotch was off the table and he switches to champagne. Particularly Pol Roger. Immediately after lunch, it's back to work with a glass of cognac. And After a nap in the afternoon, he would get back to work with another scotch and soda. And before dinner, having a glass of sherry. During dinner, having a pint bottle of champagne. After dinner, a glass of brandy.
I have a question. Why the hell have we not made any Churchill jokes at Doku's expense?
Because Doku doesn't drink as much as he did. Although there was a certain whiskey bottle that I came across that maybe I should give him, but Doku's never struck me as a whiskey drinker.
What's the whiskey called?
No, it's just a whiskey bottle that says "Whiskey made me do it." I'm gonna put it in Sacricity chat for you guys so you can see.
This is gotta be good.
You know, nothing too crazy. Just straight to the point of what's involved. And Mario saying, "I don't have a drinking problem. I have a drink solution." Yeah, that sounds about right.
Are we sure Mario's not Doku?
No, we are definitely sure of that.
That sounds like something Doku would say.
Probably. When he's not trying to sell everyone finely bejeweled cod pieces.
Oh.
See, with friends like mine, I don't need enemies.
No.
But let's see. But I will note the spreadsheet that I made for potential future Cloister episodes is 281 rows long.
281? Jeez, Monk, you're slacking.
That is me parsing a shitload of games that could have gone in, but for one reason or another, I'm not putting them in. Either because they're really, really old games that I don't feel like putting other people through reading old manual scan PDFs, or they're games that I just don't think would fit. Like a lot of the post-apocalypse games I just didn't put in because if I'm being honest, I've kind of run myself dry when it comes to zombie apocalypses, and no, it's not because of The Walking Dead. It's more to do with the fact that there's only so many things you can do with a zombie apocalypse.
Yeah, I can understand that. It's like certain narrative settings, you can only do so many kinds of stories before it just becomes repetitive.
Mm-hmm. There's also the fact that I find post-apocalypses far more interesting.
Oh, so events that take place after the post-apocalypse?
Yeah, after enough time has passed that civilization has somewhat started to recover, but it's not the same civilization as what came before the bomb drop.
Oh yeah.
The Genesis is one example of this kind of thing. I know some people say Fallout is an example, but the only one I think really fits that vibe is New Vegas. And even then, there just hasn't been enough time that's passed. And I think with a lot of the Fallout games, it's only been a few decades, and when it comes to some of them, it involves writing by Emil, who I've made clear I find to be an absolute hack. Yeah, pretty much Fallout 2 and New Vegas are the closest to post-apocalypses. 3 and 4, not really. And even though there are some settlements, it's not like there's whole factions or micro states. A lot of these settlements are just villages in a different coat of paint. This is now followed as like 200 years after, and vaults were opening up after only a decade or two after the bombs. It's also even with that, it's also just the general tone of things. I've used Degenesis as one of my examples of what I mean by post-apocalypse. See, 3 was allegedly supposed to be closer to the bombs dropping than Fallout 1, but ended up around the same time frame. Yeah, although as I've mentioned, some of the writing from the direct Bethesda team gets a lot of crap, and some of it is deserved, mostly because of consistency issues. Especially anything that Emil Pagliarillo writes. I was astonished that he actually wanted to put radiation witches in Fallout 4.
Ugh.
Like, that was an idea that he was thinking because, you know, Salem is in Massachusetts and Fallout 4 takes place around Boston.
I mean, I get where he's coming, but no. Like, I'm pretty sure by that point, a lot of that type of history would either be lost or no one would really pay attention to.
He was so hung up on the idea that he wanted to transfer over the magic system from Skyrim in order to do it, but that system wasn't in the code anymore, so he couldn't.
Good.
Like, if that's what kept you, then if the code was in there, then that would have been in Fallout 4, and everybody would have memed on it. Lord knows I would have. Because that's one of those ideas that sounds cool at first, but when you think about it for more than, like, a minute, all the problems start to come up. And just in general, I'm not a fan of the passive-aggressive attitude that Emil seems to have when it comes to criticism. You know, Dad's saying Bethesda Fallout definitely has a different vibe from the 2D games. That is true. That is true. I do put a lot of the blame on that on the mop known as Todd Howard. I swear to God, if you turn them upside down, you could use them to wipe down the floors.
No, we're not going to do that. That's too nice. I'll just grab him, use him as a makeshift spear.
I believe that is called competitive bitch tossing.
Well, how much work did he have? How involved was he for Fallout the first?
He wasn't. The first two Fallout games were done by Black Owl and published by Interplay.
Wrong. First, Fallout 1, the Laughing Stock upgrade of 76. That we ripped a new one.
As far as I know, he was overseeing it just because he oversees everything Bethesda related.
Okay.
And Mario says the Kate Daniels series by Ilona Andrews is an okay post-apocalypse. It's also urban fantasy that started in the mid-aughts, so fair warning if that's not your thing. I don't judge urban fantasy made in the mid-aughts. I'm not a hipster about the right way to do fantasy. I think I've made that clear over the years with all the times I've said fuck the grogs.
Which, as now that you say that, we have to say it together on 3. 1, 2, 3.
Fuck the
Fuck
grogs.
the gods.
But because I've seen some of them turn up their nose at things like that, and that's just not my particular bag. But when it comes to, and I see Daz had also said spear. Sorry, don't have the skill for that. Yeah, the wonders of skill systems. But with that in mind, I do. If I was doing the show that I did in my earlier years of live streaming, you can bet your ass that I would have torn Starfield a new asshole. Because it was in the same position as, say, Rebel Moon of, okay, you have absolutely no excuses. You're not working on some existing IP. You're making a brand new IP. You're doing it in space, so you've got the blank canvases to work with. So if you can't pull this off, then this is going to cause more damage than if you did nothing at all. And I think when we watched one of these showcases for Starfield, we had said, if they don't pull this off, this looks promising if they can pull it off. The key word being if. If they couldn't pull it off, then it was going to be disastrous for them. And well, they weren't able to pull it off. And thus we end up getting disaster.
What is it we usually say about this? Negro strikes again?
Yeah. It is most definitely a Negrodamus moment. But, and for those unaware, if you don't know what I mean by Negrodamus, then watch Chappelle's show. I end up getting the nickname just because I seem to be very on the nose with my predictions, even when I'm not trying to be.
It's surprising. I've said that line, and I may say it's what it's from, and still people don't get it. It's sad.
Sad, but all you can do is just point and laugh at them. But even with all of that, there's always going to be outliers. And is it possible that Starfield could turn things around? I mean, anything's possible, but here's the damning thing when it comes to something like Starfield. Even the modders don't want to touch it.
Yeah, you're dead.
I think there was one group that was considering doing some modding stuff for Starfield, but the energy wasn't there, so the project just died. I'm not saying there's nobody doing mods, it's just there's nobody doing mods as much as there were for other games.
Like, the big names in modding, like, they may do it, but they're not going to put active effort into it.
Mm-hmm. And that I look at that as you can't always rely on the modding scene to bail you out. And I think for the longest time Bethesda has operated under that assumption of, oh, the bugs just add to the charm of our games. We don't need to fix these things. But there is one thing that I think may have been killed off, at least in the public eye from this, and that is the romanticism of procedurally generated planets. And I see Mario in the chat going, so Monk, another thing you should, like me, Chris Rock is wrong about Minnesota. What did Chris Rock say about Minnesota? If he said it's too cold, all I have to say to that is skill issue, because that's the one thing everybody bitches about when it comes to Minnesota.
They also make great chocolate chip cookies at their state fair.
They make a lot of great things at state fairs, and a lot of them are on a stick.
One of my friends shared with me when she went to visit her family up there. They went to state fair, one of their state fairs. I forget which one, and someone was making handmade cookies. Like, I would say the circumference-wise, the size of a lint roller. And they were filling large popcorn buckets full of these as a standard size.
I think. Yeah. Wait, Mario, did Chris Rock say there's no black people in Minnesota? A fine argument, but still wrong. Just remember. Save Prince and Kurt. Oh, fuck off, Rock.
Everybody hates Chris.
I think I'm understanding why.
You know what I was referring to, right?
Oh, I know. And I actually... That was one of the rare cases of me enjoying a stand-up comedian getting a spin-off, because you look at a lot of those, and they were all over the place in the 90s and 2000s. A lot of them sucked.
Well, that one was like, it felt like it was more his origin stories, because other than like voiceovers, Chris wasn't really in there. But it was a good like origin for how he got there.
Mm-hmm.
Also, it did great for Terry Crews.
Pretty much. I won't say that was Cruz's breakout, because I think that's still Brooklyn Nine-Nine with him and the yogurt. Which he is right about it. He is right regarding yogurt. Although after having Greek and Icelandic yogurt for so many years, I can't go to the regular kind anymore. It's just kind of blah. Give me the thicker stuff, or even that weird ass kind that comes out of Australia. But Jesper says White Chicks. I have blocked that movie from my memory. I'm pretty sure everybody involved in that movie has blocked it from their memory.
What's White Chicks? Exactly.
You know, and it's in the same redacted folder that we keep Soul Plane. And I know some of the actors for that one had gone on stage apologizing for the movie. I think one of them had said he was embarrassed to cash the check that he got from it. Which I can't think of a more damning statement than that. He's not wrong. It was a horrible movie, even for guys like me who like the so bad it's good kind of movies. But let's see how things are at hand. So looking at that score, it's 12-27 Eagles with about 39 seconds left in the second quarter. So so we are in for the shit show. But one of these days, and I may do that when I do the 2.0 reveal. There's a couple of videos that I'm going to try and react to. One of them is one of the most infamous Georgia Tech stories. Have you all heard of the legend of 222-0?
The fuck?
Yeah. It was over 100 years ago, but it was a thing.
Oops, the fuck happened down there?
Or were you not familiar with this story either, Coops? Coops, you alive? Rick, throw waifus at Coops.
I was going to take his waifus. He has an Alice waifu stand that I've been eyeing for a while.
Not getting it.
See, it worked. But I was referring to the 222-0 incident from like 100 years ago.
Oh, the massacre.
And to answer the question of what happened, Rick, John Heisman happened. A pissed off John Heisman happened. You know, the same John Heisman that there's a trophy named after him.
Oh, I remember hearing about this. Or it's like, stop, bitch, please, I want to play. And it was because they didn't. One of the schools didn't have any, so they asked the science department to send people.
Not the science department. They suited up a bunch of lawyers because they decided to pull a bushwhacking move, disguising a bunch of pros as amateurs for a baseball game.
Oh God!
And completely embarrassed Heisman's baseball team. He wanted revenge in football, even though they had shut down their football program by that point. He had said, if you do not play, I'm going to go to the NCAA, and you guys are going to get fined $2,000. $2,000 in 1910s money.
Oh, Jesus Christ.
Because they were on the schedule. So they suited up a bunch of lawyers to play against a team that was on a long-ass winning streak. He also wanted to take a shot at sports journalists because he didn't like sports journalists. Then again, I'm not sure what Heisman did like, because I don't think I've seen one picture of him smiling in my whole life. I just see him staring at the cameraman like he's staring into your soul. But John Boyce had done a very good documentary on the thing, including some very impressive stop-motion work. But the other video that I know I'm going to have to react to is Masters of the Gridiron. The greatest / worst thing to come out of that music video era post-Super Bowl Shuffle. Okay, it's not the worst. There was that one that the Raiders did back in the day that was 11 minutes long.
No comment.
And one that the Rams did called Ram It. I know you're thinking of all the bad jokes. I will just say phrasing and move on.
No, I'm just wondering, okay, so did Michael Jackson allow this parody of Beat It?
It wasn't using any bit of Beat It. It probably would have been funnier if they did. But that didn't happen. I think there was one other music video that the Giants did, and somehow they were able to get Mean Gene involved with it because they did shooting for the whole thing in one day in the middle of the fucking cold.
Jesus Christ.
But I see Mario saying, Monkite Soul Plane? I never could have guessed. For the record, that was sarcasm. Of course. But Masters of the Gridiron was an attempt to do a film, and hold on a second. We've got a bot, so I am taking care of that.
Okay, everybody, we have a bot here. Everyone, ready? Aim.
Yeah, it happens from time to time. Because I don't have anybody actively moderating my chat aside from myself, because I am largely a one-man operation, sometimes these things happen.
Given your work schedule, we're not surprised.
Yeah. Although,
Like, this guy, remember, folks, this man, he is clinically allergic to taking time off.
yeah, you all have to bully me to take time off.
His reaction is similar to that if you're trying to put cats in water.
Yeah, but I'm not a cat.
Well, I'm trying to think of... Well, it's not the best analogy, I hope we acknowledge that. But there was a specific one I have in my head, but I can't remember the name of the character and where they were being dragged off to.
Fair. And even when it comes to, I mean, yeah, I've taken vacations every now and then, but the thing is, even when I try to take time off, my mind takes my work with me. So even a vacation is not truly a vacation because I'm still thinking of different projects to do. It's just a way I'm wired, and I do think some of it is a bit of an effect of the thing I decided to focus on. Since I'm well aware of the fact that for a lot of people, their association with tabletop is going to be D&D, and me not doing D&D is going to put me on a bit of the back foot. But getting back to what I was saying about Masters of the Gridiron, I can best describe it as an attempt to try and do a fantasy parody of the Browns Super Bowl run, with the villain being played by Tiny Tim. It was done as a TV special, and if the Browns had actually won that year, then they probably could have gotten a full distribution deal to put it on home video. Unfortunately, The Drive happened that year, i.e., Elway happened. And thus with the Browns losing in the Super Bowl, that meant that it just wasn't going to happen. Which is unfortunate, but that's how these things kind of work, because the fact that he was delusional enough to think that he could do national distribution for that idea is a special kind of crazy. The kind of crazy that you usually expect with somebody who's going to some sort of event, some sort of endurance racing event, you know, like the 24 Hours of Le Mans or something. hold on a second, because one of my stream setups does not want to cooperate. There we go. Ah. But moving onward a little bit, there's a small part of me that's actively considered showcasing things like Legend Edition at conventions. But I would have to have basically the same kind of setup that some VTubers do when they show up in character at conventions. No, just a big ass screen. I mean, it'd be funny if I did that for a con or something like that.
That might be one of the few ways we can get your ass down to Metro.
That's a good possibility of a definite maybe. I mean, it's not like I haven't been at Metro before. You've met me there. So that's why you are one of a handful of people who can vouch for the fact that I am not a short man.
I've also seen your dance skills in person.
Yeah, I don't have them. In fact, when I was at that masquerade, I did everything but dance.
No, I'm not talking about that. I was talking about the true rave.
I wasn't at the rave. I don't know what you're talking about.
The true rave, the one downstairs.
Oh. Yeah, that one. See, that one I will not apologize for, because I don't have a whole lot of chances to act like an idiot. To just be silly for once. You know, both because of the character I portray and just the way I am normally. I'm usually on the serious end of things, which unfortunately leads to a lack of clip material for me. But
that's our job.
Yeah,
and primarily Zan.
Mm-hmm. But there are exceptions. And I do think that in doing I feel like making the jump to VTubing is going to allow me an opportunity to get out of my shell a little bit more. Is what I'd like to say, but so many people are so far in their shell that I end up being the odd man out.
We don't have enough rope to pull them all out.
Well, we're just gonna have to make more rope. Also, it is now halftime when it comes to Commanders Eagles. It's 15-27. And I do not think I'm going to be able to. I'm not gonna be streaming throughout the entirety of the game, obviously. But we will see how things go. I mean, worst case scenario, I can crib notes from Rossi and call up Doku after the game.
He's gonna be sober, right?
Probably not.
No, he'll send you his notes, and they'll be covered in splotches of beer or whatever he was drinking.
Maybe. So, I will note that one of the things I've been seeing within my space has been a few channels declaring that they're winding, a few D&D channels declaring that they're winding down for various reasons, and one of the big ones being Man Shorts, and there's various reasons as to why. In some cases, it's burnout. In other cases, it's that the money's not there. And Jesper saying, "Are we sure Mildred isn't 2 bears in a transcript?" No, because if I was 2 bears and I think you mean trench coat. If I was 2 bears in a trench coat, I would be a lot taller than I already am. And hang on a sec. I'm going to be live texting Goku. After the game. I don't do this often because I don't like texting. Or at least I don't like typing on a smartphone. Just period. It's just how I'm wired.
Don't blame you.
But even within that, I'm pretty sure both you would laugh your ass off if I end up going to like Momo or Metro or something and set up a booth for Legend Edition.
No, I have a feeling if somehow, way, shape, or form you do something like that, or you get like an actual panel that describes some of that stuff, Coop's not going to get roped into helping in some way.
Probably not just you two. Probably everybody in the crew.
Oh, you know, if you did at Metro, Shauna and Lady K would definitely be helping, especially Lady K.
Yeah. And I've certainly been open to it. One of my bucket list ideas is to do a panel. I know that some of my contacts over in Italy have said that if I ever showed up for a convention in some part of Italy, that they would be willing to play translator for me. Because, as I've made clear, I seem to have way too many Italian friends.
I'm pretty sure you know enough people that if you need to, you can go to another country on vacation, and they would be willing to help you out.
Yeah, the only reason I'm not is because, well, I don't like flying.
Problems of being a big boy.
Yeah. As those flights are a bit cramped for somebody of my size. Even if I fly first class, I still have issues with legroom. And it's not like I'm reminded of when I complained about having to go out of my way to specialty places to do clothes shopping, and one of my buddies was like, maybe you'd have an easier time if you lost weight. Well, I did, and guess what? I still have a problem.
Don't worry, I know this all too well. My brother's like that.
Mm-hmm. So he's probably going to go to like a Big and Tall or a DXL or someplace like that to find anything that works.
Big and Tall, especially, but it's primarily because he has big old man feet. He's a size 15.
I'm 15 wide, so I can relate. And getting wide variance of sizes is already a pain, even if you're like a 13, which is what most places cap off at. And Mara said, I'm 4'10" and still an issue with legroom on flights. Yeah, because they've tried to shrink as much legroom as possible so that they can add more seats so they can have more people on a plane. So they can get more people on flights with less planes. Though these days, the thing that makes me hesitant to do certain flights is whether or not I'm gonna be flying on a Boeing. If it's Boeing, I ain't going. There have been some concerns that Airbus might end up having a near monopoly if Boeing keeps fucking up. Because Airbus is the primary competitor, and there was that whole thing where for a while where they ended up being Airbus planes ended up being used for the Russian airline Aeroflot. I would say some of that is due to all of the horror stories regarding Aeroflot. especially the old TU-104, which had the call sign of camel. Mostly because it was basically taking a design that was originally meant for bombers and trying to make a commercial airliner out of it. Which, in theory, doesn't sound like a terrible idea. A bomber is a slow plane that delivers things, and a commercial airliner is a slow plane that delivers things. So on paper it's not a terrible idea. In practice, I don't know. No, it's not. I don't know. It's the fact we've seen what happens there. Oh, bit of a random tangent that just dropped on my lap. Apparently, because of all the news regarding James Gunn trying to fix the DC on film thing. Apparently, there's been rumors going about that Nia Jax is interested in participating in a Wonder Woman project. To that I say, I've seen your acting, Nia, and no. I'll be honest, I don't like Nia Jax. It's just not in a face heel way, but just she's go away heat for me. Admittedly, some of that was during that streak of just unsafeness, but there was also the infamous "my hole" moment, which did not do anyone any favors. I just had to get that out of my system because that dropped on my lap like 2 minutes ago. But I don't know. I'm looking at the score at halftime. The Eagles could still do it, but the Commanders could still do it, but it's gonna depend on whether or not there's an 11th hour choke, because you know how these things go. There's always that possibility. I know some people would be tempted to bring up that score in Atlanta, but no, I'm invoking the Colts. From a few years ago where they ended up choking the biggest choke that in the last 100 years. Completely one-sided at halftime, then second half comes along and, well, even when he's no longer a Falcon, Matt Ryan must die.
Matt Ryan!
But I do want to posit one thing to you guys, and this is a bit of a tinfoil hat thing, but there's a part of me that wonders if indie games are being held to a higher quality demand than games that aren't indies, or a higher expectation of quality.
Maybe.
Yeah. I see Mario saying, as a born and raised Wichita, and I've been saying F Boeing for the last 2 decades. I can understand that.
Okay, hold on. Mario, which Wichita are we talking about? My Wichita or a different Wichita?
But that differential standard thing is something that I felt dawned on me when I looked at how it seemed that certain promotions were being judged harsher than others in wrestling. And there's a part of me that was wondering if there was a pattern going on. But there are different Wichitas to account for, much in the same way that Rick, I'm sure you've had to explain to people many, many, many times why Kansas City is not in Kansas.
I always have to say, okay, when they ask, like, when I say Kansas City, oh, really? You're from Missouri? No, I'm from Kansas. There's a Kansas City, Kansas? Oh, you ready for history? No, too bad, bitch. Yes, because the reason why Kansas City, Missouri exists is we wanted to pay homage to the Kansas Indians. When the territory of Kansas became a thing, they wanted to do the same thing. And when they found out, hey, there's a city named after the state like us, let's have it move over here. There was an argument, and they decided we're going to make two cities on both sides of the state line. That is an abridged version of it.
And if that sounds stupid, welcome to early politics.
Early politics and other stuff. I mean, hey, St. Louis is on both sides of the Illinois-Missouri state line, so...
And of course, there's the lengthy pissing match when it comes to the Twin Cities, going back to the early days. To the point where whether someone saying they preferred Minneapolis or St. Paul was enough to start a fight. And Mario said, "The real Wichita, you darn cowboy."
Well, I have nothing to do with it. That is insulting for all those who don't care about trash. Because, yes, we don't care about the damn Cowboys.
Pretty much. And sorry, I had to deal with a spam bot sliding into my DMs. I guess if someone, I don't block people all that often. If I block someone or have them banned, it is largely for them being a spam bot. I know a lot of people judiciously use the block button against anyone and everyone who happens to give them the slightest disagreement, but that's not how I run. Because I'm still in that mindset of blocking people over an argument is the ultimate bitch move, and the ultimate way to say you have no counter-argument. I know some people, they have to do more because they end up getting shit thrown at them. Sometimes literally, sometimes figuratively, but I don't have to deal with that as much. Which I consider a blessing of sorts. But I'm looking at the schedule that I've got, and there's going to be some interesting stuff coming along. It's mostly going into interviews thing, which let me see where the interview playlist is right now. Just give it a minute, because for whatever reason YouTube wants to be slow. Or rather, it wants to be slow on one browser but not on the other, for reasons I don't quite get. And it's not like I've got a bunch of add-ons or something like that. And if I did, it would affect all of my browsing. So, give me 1 minute to load up the playlist. Because all of the interviews that I've done are all kept in one nice little playlist. Okay, so I am 22 away from hitting 1,000.
Hey!
And let's see. 20, 19, 18, 17, 16. Let me look at what I've got for February. But by February 1st, that's going to be down to 16 if everything goes as planned. And by mid-February, that number is going to be down to 9. So, at the rate things are going, by the end of next month, or this time next month, I will have hit 1,000 interviews total.
Go Zoom tight.
Excuse me. And that's over the course of a little over 5 years. And it's definitely something that I didn't think I'd be doing when I started this little endeavor. As I've told you guys before, I initially was just going to do reviews and nothing else. But it seems fate had other plans for me. No, not that fate, Rick. Sit down.
I was gonna say, Fate said, "Sorry, Felicia."
I have had one of my recent old coworkers trying to get me to pick up Grand Order, and I'm not doing it. Nothing.
That's what I'm
nothing
here for.
Yeah, one, that's what I got you for, and two,
Well, no, let me phrase that. That's what me and Crunch on our other server is for.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's more that I'm just not all that enthused about doing mobile feeds.
It's not your thing.
Mm-hmm.
I get that.
Especially since the closest thing I did to mobile gaming was trying out Legacy Wars by using BlueStack, and I didn't enjoy the experience.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I did enjoy a certain Blue Ranger getting his ass kicked in the game, but that's another story. Especially since he thought he was doing well, then he went up against pros and got his ass kicked. Much in the same way that I know for a fact that even though I'm decent at Tetris, I'm never going to go up against Tetris pros because they will just embarrass me. But by the way, third quarter, 15-27 Eagles. So there's a chance, but I think this one's set in stone. But even with all of that, I know it's tempting to be cynical these days, but I can't help but feel a degree of optimism for the year of 2025. Maybe it's the New Year smell because we are still in fuck you, it's January. But I've already started to meet some of my resolutions. So there is
working on some of mine, but they're your long ones. So.
Yeah. And Rome wasn't built in a day. I do. One of the long-term goals I do have is to try and GM a one-shot of nothing but VTubers. Though I've made explicitly clear if I'm doing that, I am not running D&D. Largely for the same reasons you don't see me run D&D when it comes to the Cloister. That does result in some downsides, but that is something that is a risk I'm willing to take.
Hey, you're sticking to your principles.
Mm-hmm. But with that, I think we've exhausted everything we could. This was a bit of a impromptu setup, mostly because some things didn't exactly go as planned. But I will be back later tonight, in fact, in about 3 hours, with Jason Murray talking about his Dragon Rune TTRPG, which is currently in development. And after that, I think late tonight will probably be a demo grab bag night. So keep an eye out for that kind of thing. But until then, on behalf of the good brothers present and not present, my name is Mildra. I am your gaming monk. Stay fucking frosty, everybody.